everyone, what's up? My name is Joss and welcome back to my channel Squibbles Reads. Today we are going to be doing the Try a Chapter tag, which I was tagged in by the lovely Jen Campbell. She put a twist on it and did it with short story collection, so she essentially created the Try a Story tag. However, the original creator of the Try a Chapter tags video will be in the down bar below. I think even though some of my favorite works this year have been short story collections, what I really need right now after DNFing Booktubeathon is a really good novel that I can really sink my teeth into. Basically what you do for this tag is you take a lot of books that you've been thinking about reading lately and you read the first chapter of each and decide which of those books that you want to continue reading. Today I have picked 6 different books that I think I'll like. They are all pretty different, but I have been feeling pretty blah lately after DNFing Booktubeathon, so I don't really know exactly what I'm in the mood for. A couple of these books I did request for review, so a big thank you to the publishers for sending them to me. So I will introduce each book to you guys and let you know what I thought about the first chapter, and then at the very end of this video I will let you know which book I decided to continue on with. The first book I heard about from Book Riot, and that is Marrow Island by Alexis M. Smith. It's pretty short, it's like under 250 pages, and it's about an environmental journalist named Lucy who left Marrow Island 20 years ago after there was an earthquake who killed her father, destroyed the environment, and also destroyed a refinery there. We are now in post-disaster Washington state, and Lucy goes back to Marrow Island, which is rebuilding itself, and connects with her old childhood friend Kate. And Kate is part of this colony. It's a mysterious group called Marrow Colony, and Lucy sets out to uncover the secrets of this colony. The first chapter kind of gave me a few Station 11 vibes, but the writing reminded me of Burial Rites by Hannah Kent, which I still can't go a video without talking about, and it is behind me over, I don't know, over there somewhere. But it kind of reminds me of the bleak, chilly, sharp writing of Hannah Kent, which I really enjoyed, so I'm definitely intrigued by this one. And the second book I also heard about from Book Riot, and it is Listen to Me by Hannah Pittard. This is being billed as all sorts of stuff, so it's being called like a modern gothic novel, but also literary fiction, and it is about a road trip and marital trouble, so I was not really quite sure what to expect going into this. The blurb itself is actually quite simple. It's another like little tiny under 250 page book. It's about a couple. The guy's named Mark and the woman is named Maggie, and they are having some tense moments before they go on a road trip, and somewhere along this road trip they get sidetracked and end up having to stay the night at a seedy motel. So what I thought about the first chapter, the very first sentence was, they were on the road later than intended. And that is something I love, because from the first sentence it immediately sets tension. The tension keeps building throughout the little short first chapter, and even the family dog senses their anxiety and their irritation with one another. I'm really surprised by this, so still on the list. Third book I have is a little bit different. It is a YA contemporary, and it's called Wild Swans by Jessica Spotswood. This is about a girl named Ivy, and she's heading into her senior year. Her family has a pretty bad track record with females, all of them dying very tragically, and Ivy has been left by her mom when she was younger. Suddenly her mom shows up with 2 daughters in tow, and then Ivy is left to solve the mystery of this supposed family curse. I actually really enjoyed the first chapter. It starts in the middle of a storm, and Ivy is discussing these trends in her family and how they've affected her, and it also introduces some feminist themes, and she's reading Jane Eyre in the first chapter of this book, which is pretty great. I think in terms of grabbing my attention regarding like the writing and the tension building, I think I would prefer Listen to Me over this one at this point in time, but I probably will read this one by the end of the month because the font is pretty big and I think it'll go pretty quick. So I will continue with it, just probably not right now. I am back with my 4th book, and I am like already getting emotional about this just holding it up. But it's called The Listener by Rachel Bosch. It's about a counselor named Malcolm, and he works at the Baxter College Center for Behavioral Health, and it opens in the opening scene and he's seeing a client named Leah. Little does he know, a little bit later in the session, Leah is about to remove her wig and reveal that this is actually an old client of his who was formerly known as Noah. The first chapter touches on so many points, so the difference between different lengths of therapeutic sessions, different modes of self-disclosure, and even like what the therapist hangs in his office could have an impact on the client session. Not only that, what was most touching to me was it was so like heart-wrenching and emotional to see Leah's anguish and disgust with herself and the grappling with her identity. I was like super affected by this book, and I'm only 13 pages in, so this is a very strong contender for the one that I will continue with. Okay, so book number 5 is The Border of Paradise by Esme Wei-Jin Wong, and this is kind of hard to explain, but it is a multi-generational novel, and it opens with a man named David who is pacing in a motel room trying to gather his thoughts because he is contemplating suicide. And then we get to see David's backstory, and we figure out that he has inherited a piano company in Brooklyn, which is a family business, but he suddenly sells it at the age of 18 to go and travel in Taiwan. In Taiwan, he meets a woman named Daisy, and they have a fast and hasty marriage, and then they move back to Northern California and start a family there. I feel like I cheated because I didn't realize that this wasn't actually split up into chapters, but actually is split up into sections, and the first section was like 45 pages long, and the font is super small, so I feel like I read a lot more of this book than the other ones. But it is written in a creepy, almost gothic way. However, it manages to remark on privilege and race and class and socioeconomic status and all those good words that I really enjoy reading about. I would also say that this is a truly character-driven novel, which means that it's not a plot-driven novel with really strong and good characterization, but rather the characters make up the plot. Their backstories make up the plot. That is what I truly enjoy about character-driven novels. Finally, the last book that I have here is The Unseen World by Liz Moore. This actually just came out a couple of days ago. It's about a girl named Ada, and she has been raised by her single dad, David, who is the head of a computer science lab, and he is a little bit socially awkward in that stereotypical kind of way that you would imagine for the head of a computer science lab. And in my head, when I was reading the first chapter, I was thinking the whole time about Kirk from Gilmore Girls if he ran a computer science lab. So Ada herself is also super smart, and she's also a little bit socially awkward, so we get to see them grapple with that together. And the first chapter really embodied a strong father-daughter relationship, which I don't think we get to see a lot in literature, which I think is a real shame, so I enjoyed that part a lot. So what happens in the blurb, supposedly, is that David's mental health starts to falter a little bit, and he is diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's, and he leaves a bunch of clues for Ada to discover some of the mysteries that their family has. I also heard Book Riot talking about this one, and they said that it is pretty sad, but all the characters are extremely relatable, and it's really heartwarming how much I was able to connect with these characters in the first chapter, and I think part of it had to do with the use of dialogue. I thought dialogue was used really well and interspersed between the exposition so that we got to know both Ada and David well. Okay, so now it's time to decide which of these books I want to read. I feel like I did a really good job picking those books, which is surprising considering how poorly I did picking my books for book 2, but not that any of those books are particularly bad, but for example, I picked a book that I DNF'd and thought that I might be more compelled to read it during readathon. I have no idea. But I think, I honestly think that I am going to put all of these on like my immediate TBR, so I will be reading them really soon. You'll probably see some of them in my monthly wrap up. But I think the one that I'm going to go with is, I think it's going to be The Listener by Rachel Bosch. I just was so affected by the first 13 pages in a way that the other ones did not affect me. I mean, I'm not saying that they're not good, but this one just really like punched me in the gut. So we're gonna go with this one. I also think that it's gonna move really fast because it's a little tiny book, so I'll probably get through it quite quickly. So in the next couple of days, which is what I need right now, I just need to like finish a book. So I'm gonna go with this one. Alright, so that is it for this video. If you guys have any comments, questions, or anything else, please leave it down below. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.